Spirit of the mirror, come from the farthest space. Through wind and darkness I summon thee. Speak! Show me thy face.
What wouldst thou know, my queen?
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
Famed is thy beauty, majesty, but hold, a lovely maid I see. Alas, she is more fair than thee.
Alas for her! Reveal her name.
Lips red as the rose, hair black as ebony, skin white as snow.
Snow White.
Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well, as you can tell from the opening, today's blog is a very special birthday present for my friend Teresa Hogan, and her son Adam Hogan, who previously requested me to blog The Page Master and Sweeney Todd, has asked me to blog a classic movie that she'd love. And this one stars a classic Disney princess whom she's obsessed with. Released on February 4th, 1938, the movie is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Now let's get started. Jealous of Snow White's beauty, the evil Queen Grimhilda orders the murder of her innocent stepdaughter, but later discovers that Snow White is still alive and hiding in a cottage with 7 friendly little miners. Disguising herself as an old hag, Grimhilda brings a poisoned apple to Snow White, who falls into a death-like sleep that can only be broken by a kiss from a prince. So, what do I think of this movie? Well, for being Walt Disney's first full-length animated movie, this film is a classic, and I love it. But to further explain why I still love this movie, let's move on to Mustang notes. The movie is based on the German fairy tale of the same name by the Grimm brothers. It is the first full-length cel animated feature film and the earliest Disney animated feature film ever made. The story was adapted by storyboard artists Dorothy Ann Blank, Richard Creedon, Merrill D. Maris, Otto Englander, Earl Hurd, Dick Rickard, Ted Sears, and Webb Smith. David Hand was the supervising director, while William Cottrell, Wilfred Jackson, Larry Morey, Pierce, and Ben Sharpsteed directed the film's individual sequences. Development on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs began in early 1934, and in June 1934, Walt Disney announced the production of his first feature film to be released under Walt Disney Productions to the New York Times. One evening that same year, Disney acted out the entire story of Snow White to his entire staff, announcing that the movie would be produced as a feature-length film. Before Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the Disney studio had been primarily involved in the production of animated short subjects, in the Mickey Mouse cartoons, and the Silly Symphony series. Disney hoped to expand his studio's prestige and revenues by moving into features, and estimated that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs could be produced for a budget of $250 million. This was 10 times the budget of the average Silly Symphony cartoon. Snow White premiered at the Cathaway Circle Theater on December 21, 1937, followed by a nationwide release on February 4, 1938. It was a critical and commercial success, and with international earnings of $8 million during its initial release, briefly assumed the record of highest grossing sound film at the time. The popularity of the movie has led to it being re-released theatrically many times, until its home video release in the 1990s. Adjusted for inflation, it is one of the top 10 performers at the North American box office. At the 11th Academy Awards, Walt Disney was awarded an honorary Oscar, and the film was nominated for Best Musical Score the year before. In 1989, the U.S. Library of Congress deemed Snow White culturally, historically, and authentically significant, and selected it for preservation in the National Film Registry, and it is ranked in the American Film Institute's list of the 100 greatest American films, who also named the film as the greatest American animated film of all time in 2008. Now, here's where we come to the animation, and in my opinion, the animation for this movie is classic. Plus, it makes me think of the old Silly Symphony cartoons that Walt Disney created during the old days. Also, while this movie is mostly romantic, lighthearted, and happy, there are a few dark moments in the movie, like when Snow White is in the woods attacked by scary trees and alligator logs, which is in reality a figment of her fear. Plus, the part where Queen Grimhilda transforms into an ugly peddler woman is equally as frightening. Speaking of which, I'm still surprised that a few years ago, Diamanda Hagen had to impersonate her while she and Huey Toomore talked about the Goddess of Envy while they were reviewing Winds of Change. And like I said a few months ago, if Diamanda ever found out about me, she'll swoop down and wreak her vengeance on me. Trust me. But anyway, back to the movie. There's also 3 scenes in the film where a fly pesters the dwarves. Now here's where we come to the music and songs. The songs in the movie were written by Frank Churchill, Larry Morey, and Leigh Harline. The musical score was composed by Paul J. Smith and Leigh Harline. The first song in the movie is I'm Wishing, sung by Snow White as she cleans the courtyard of Queen Grimhilda's castle. To me, this is a very pretty song. Also, during the song, a prince overhears her and listens for a bit while sitting on a wall, before he walks over and meets her. Oh, speaking of which, the next song is One Song, sung by Snow White's prince during their first meeting. To me, this song is very romantic. It's the kind of song that a Romeo would sing to his Juliet. Plus, I think in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, the prince tells Aqua that this song drew them together. What's more, this song gets a reprise twice. Once, while Snow White is in a wild flower glade humming to herself, and the second time is nearing the end of the movie while the prince approaches Snow White's coffin to kiss and wake her up. Next is With a Smile and a Song, another sweet song sung by Snow White. During the song, Snow White makes friends with several forest animals who cheer her up after she got frightened in the woods. Next is Whistle While You Work, which is sung while Snow White and the animals clean up the Seven Dwarfs' cottage. I find this to be another favorite of mine because I find it to be a great song to sing while doing chores around the house. Next we come to the classic Hi Ho, sung by the Seven Dwarfs while they're working in their diamond mines, and when they march home from work. This song gets a reprise as they march to work the following morning. You know, I used to sing along with this song a lot as a kid, considering the fact that I watched the Disney Sing-Along VHS featuring this song before I watched this movie. Next becomes the dwarf's washing song, Bloodle Uddle Dum. I find this to be one of the funniest songs in Disney history. What makes this song fun to watch is the parts where the dwarves go and of course there's even a part where Dopey accidentally gets a bar of soap down his throat, and when the dwarves force Grumpy to wash. Next is another fun song, the dwarf's yodel song, aka the silly song. I want to consider this one of my favorite songs in the movie, and I think the dwarfs are fantastic musicians. Also, halfway through the song, Dopey stands on Sneezy's shoulders and dances with Snow White. Pretty similar to Aurora's animal friends from Sleeping Beauty, dressing up like a prince and dancing with her. But then, when the song ends, Sneezy sends out a huge sneeze, which sends Dopey flying into the ceiling. Fun fact, part of this song was recycled for the phony King of England from Robin Hood. Finally, we come to the romantic song, Someday My Prince Will Come, which is sung 3 times throughout the movie. The first time is sung by Snow White, while she recalls her first meeting with the prince. The second time is when she and some birds are preparing gooseberry pies for the dwarves. I always wanted to try those. Great, now I'm hungry. And the third time is at the very end of the movie as Snow White and the prince ride into the sunset. Anyway, now that we're done with Mustang notes, animation, and songs, let's move on to the characters and the voice actors. Our main character, Snow White, is voiced by Adriana Castelletti, who's known as the first female voice actress in history. Snow White is a young princess and the first Disney princess, not counting Minnie Mouse or Hortensia. And she's one of the 7 princesses of light whom Xehanort and his followers need in order to remake the Keyblade. Anyway, in this movie, Snow White's stepmother has forced her to work as a scullery maid in the castle. Despite this, she retains a cheerful but naive demeanor, which is what I love about her. Plus, Adriana's singing as Snow White is very beautiful. I also like that Snow White easily makes friends with animals, which makes me think that she could be the inspiration for Fluttershy from My Little Pony, and Giselle from Enchanted. Next we have Snow White's evil stepmother, Queen Grimhilda, voiced by Lucille Laverne, who got to be in Little Caesar and A Tale of Two Cities. To me, she's got to be one of Disney's nastiest villains. But keep in mind, Grimhilda is not the first Disney villain. That place belongs to Pete. On the other hand, Grimhilda doesn't hold a candle to my childhood nightmare, Maleficent. Plus, her crown and heart box are one of the Wicked 9 objects that was featured on Sophia's show. Anyway, once Grimhilda's magic mirror tells her that Snow White is the fairest instead of her, she immediately enlists Humbert the Huntsman to kill her in the woods. After she discovers that Snow White is still alive, she disguises herself as an old peddler woman and uses a poison apple to put Snow White in a sleeping death. Next we come to the Magic Mirror, voiced by Maroni Olson, whom I remember from It's a Wonderful Life. The spirit of the Magic Mirror appears as a green mask in clouds of smoke. the queen regularly asks him who is the fairest in the land. Now, to be honest, I don't really consider the mirror as a villain. Despite the fact that he fought Terra and Aqua in Birth by Sleep, and sucks Mickey Mouse inside him to face several Disney villains during Fantasmic, I see the mirror as a sage or a fortune teller. Next we have Humbert the Huntsman, voiced by Stuart Buchanan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who got to be in Saludos Amigos. Now, despite his status as the Queen's assassin, the Huntsman cannot bear to kill Snow White, even when Grimhilda orders him to take the princess's heart. Instead, he spares Snow White's life by warning her about Grimhilda's madness and jealousy, tells her to run away into the woods and take shelter, and later, he gives the Queen the heart of a pig. Still, makes me wonder what Humbert did after he gave Grimhilda the pig's heart. I mean, did he flee from the castle before she found out? I guess we'll never know. Next we come to Snow White's prince, voiced by Harry Stockwell, who got to be the second Curly in the stage version of Oklahoma. Now, in my eyes, he's pretty similar to Cinderella's prince, due to the fact that he doesn't have a big role in the movie. For example, he's first seen listening to Snow White sing at her wishing well, and immediately falls in love with her and her voice, and later on in the movie, he kisses Snow White to revive her. Next we come to the forest animals. Their priority in this story is to protect and help Snow White throughout the movie. The animals consist of birds, rabbits, deer, chipmunks, squirrels, raccoons, and quails. However, the most significant animal is a turtle, who is always a step behind the other animals. To me, these animals are very friendly to Snow White, and other than helping her clean up around the cottage, I like the part where they warn the dwarves that Snow White was in danger. Speaking of which, let's move on to the Seven Dwarfs, starting with Doc, voiced by Roy Atwell, best known from Where There's Life. Doc is the leader of the Seven Dwarfs. He wears glasses and often mixes up his words. Fun fact, do you guys remember the part where Doc sleeps in a sink? Well, not many folks know that years after this movie, the Disney Imagineers recycled Doc's snoring for Splash Mountain. The snoring can be heard when your log passes Brer Bear's door before the first waterfall. Next we have Grumpy, voiced by Pinto Colvig, who got to voice Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, Goofy and Pluto, the Auric Juan in The Three Caballeros and Melody Time, Maleficent's goons in Sleeping Beauty, a flamingo in Alice in Wonderland, and he got to voice in Mr. Bug Comes to Town. He even got to be in The Wizard of Oz and Gulliver's Travels. Now, in all honesty, I don't really like Grumpy that much, due to his negativity and disapproving Snow White. But later on, he does warm up to her and warns her of Queen Grimhilda's threat. And he also rushes off to her aid upon realizing that she's in danger, leading the charge himself. Also to note, Grumpy has the biggest nose of the dwarves, and is frequently seen with one eye shut. Next we have Sleepy, also voiced by Pinto Colvig. Sleepy is always tired and appears laconic in most situations. My favorite scene that Sleepy is involved with is when he tries to use a cymbal to smash a fly, and the part where he assumes that the queen got Snow White. Next, we have a lovable Happy, voiced by Otis Harlan, who got to be in Showboat and A Midsummer Night's Dream. Happy is the joyous dwarf and is usually portrayed laughing. Next is Bashful, voiced by Scotty Matra, who got to be in the 1934 Babes in Toyland movie. Bashful is the shyest of the dwarves, and he's often embarrassed by the presence of any attention directed at him. Next is my second favorite dwarf, Sneezy, voiced by Billy Gilbert, who, after this movie, voiced Willie the Giant in Fun and Fancy Free. Sneezy's name is earned by his extraordinary powerful sneezes caused by his hay fever, which is seen blowing even the heaviest of objects across the room. You know, every time he sneezes, it always makes me laugh so hard that my socks fall off my hooves. Sadly, Dopey, my favorite dwarf, is a silent character and has no voice actor, even though some say that Eddie Collins does his vocal effects. Anyway, Dopey is the only dwarf who does not have a beard. He is mute, with Happy explaining that he has simply never tried to talk. In the movie's trailer, Walt Disney described Dopey as nice but sort of silly. Now, the reason why I love Dopey is not only because he's silly, but he's also very playful. Plus, Dopey loves Snow White so much that he'll dart to the front of the line just to see her. Also, I'll never forget the time when I gave Dopey a hug at Disneyland when I was very little. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, for being Walt Disney's first animated feature, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a wonderful Disney classic. The story is very lighthearted and happy, though a few dark moments. The animation is classic and fun. Snow White is a legendary Disney princess. The Seven Dwarfs are all fun, memorable, and funny, even though Grumpy doesn't start out as much. And the villain, Queen Grimhilda, is a nasty Disney villain. Lastly, the songs in this movie are classic Disney tunes that will live on forever in the hearts of everybody. I loved this movie when I was little, and I still love it today. And so it's for that very reason why I give this movie the highest rating of 100%. Well, that's it for today, everyone. Be sure to join me again for my next blog, Mustang Power. Man, can't believe I gave full ratings for 4 movies in a row. Wonder what I should blog next. Whoa, sounds like trouble. I better find out what's going on.